funding your business or access to capital, so to speak. And I was just introducing myself, Todd Adams with Lift Fund. Um, I'm a senior business development officer, so I do lending for small businesses all over the metroplex, and I basically have all of North Texas and Oklahoma. So we work with a lot of businesses. We have a lot of different lending programs that we would discuss and talk about. And my counterpart is Jacob Paulson, who's with Wells Fargo. I don't think he's going to be joining us this morning, but we normally kind of tag team when we do this presentation. But I will be doing and conducting the entire presentation myself. So we got a lot to cover, a lot of good information, a lot of important information that hopefully you'll be able to use and take back and be able to be successful, grow your business, and get the funding that your business needs. So with that being said, let's kind of get rolling. Okay. Trying to use two screens at once. Okay, who are we? So back in 1989, the Collin SBDC has been a participant, has been in partnership with the U.S. Small Business Administration. They partnered with Collin College to bring about the SBDC. Through this partnership, they do a lot of one-on-one consultations, consulting small businesses, helping build small businesses, get started, giving them the tools and showing them the tools that they need to be successful in their business. This program is either minimal cost or no cost. This presentation is strictly a volunteer presentation for me and Jacob. When we do this presentation, we don't get paid for it. It's strictly volunteer. We give our time and resources to Collin County for this particular presentation. So, and we're happy to do it. I love doing this presentation. It is the different participants is always diverse and exciting, and we learn a lot every single time we do this presentation. So, so to the next.
Hey, Todd. Todd.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Your screen is not sharing now.
Uh-oh.
But if any consolation, we did get the email with the PDF slides, but your screen is not sharing right now.
Okay, hold on one second. You may have it then if they made you the. Hold on, let me see something. Is it sharing?
Not,
I'm sorry, say it again.
not yet. No, it's not sharing.
Okay, hold on. Do you see it?
Yes, we see it now.
Okay. Okay, good. And do you guys have the PowerPoint presentation as well?
Yeah, we do. We got it in the email. It was the Zoom link along with the PDF PowerPoint.
Okay, good. Well, hopefully everyone is in front of a computer and you can follow, but it does appear that it is sharing. But if not, just follow your slide presentation as well, and we'll go through that. I can see it, but I can't see what you all can see, so we will go through that fairly quickly. But anyway, as I was talking about what the SBDC does and how they came about, when they were started, and what they do one-on-one consultations, and some of the programs they have are little to no cost at all. This is one that's no cost. It is a volunteer presentation that we normally do. So what we do counseling, they do training, and they do research. So they help businesses kind of conduct research on the industry that you're getting into, which is very, very important to gather and garner that type of information for your business. So if I was a business owner, I would certainly take advantage of the services that the SBDC offers. Even some of the courses that they have that are paid courses, I think very minimal fee. I want to say $40 or $50. It's just like a classroom that you would take. There may be instances where you may get a certification or some kind of certificate indicating that you completed a course on accounting or a course on financial statements or a course on marketing. So those are some very important classes to take. And if you have the financial resources, I would certainly take advantage of those. Covered in this workshop, this is some of the things that we are going to cover. We're going to cover, are you bankable? We're going to talk about the 5 C's of credit. We're going to talk about startup capital, sources of capital. That can include personal savings, family and friends, personal investors, bank loans, SBA, guaranteed type loans, venture capitalists, angel investors, peer-to-peer lending, and crowdfunding. So getting started. The 5 C's. The first C that we're going to talk about is credit history. Credit history. History is a prediction of you successfully meeting future obligations. So basically, that is what lenders look at when they look at the 5 C's of credit. The first C is going to be your credit history. How well have you managed and maintained your credit? Most major financial institutions, they look at that very, very closely, carefully, because they have what we call stockholders to adhere to. So they can't just go out and make any type of loan. They have to have some structure in the loans that they make and who they're lending to. So that credit history is very, very important. And in some cases, CDFIs, which I work for a CDFI, Lift Fund, that is a community development financial institution. We're normally, in most cases, a nonprofit institution that receives funding from either the government, private investors, banks, and banks have given us millions of dollars to lend. We work with these banks through their CRA development. Banks, in most cases, can't lend to startups or have a very challenging time lending to startups. Whereas a CDFI, we will lend to a startup. So we look at credit. We would love to have everyone come to us with great credit, but if they don't, we tend to dig a little deeper in finding out what that credit history looks like and why certain things are on there that could be hindering you from being bankable. So credit history, very, very big, predictable avenue for banks to look at when administering or giving out credit. The next is going to be collateral. Collateral. Banks, let's see. We're going to look at banks. We're going to look at the SBA collateral that they normally do take. Office equipment. Banks tend to shy away from those things. SBA tend to put blanket liens on office equipment. We will, as a lender, a CDFI lender, we tend to take almost anything. We will look at anything. Lift Fund was started over 27 years ago by a retired nun by the name of Janie Barrera. And when she first started lending funds, she was mainly lending to individuals that just did not have accessibility to major financial institutions. One of the first loans that she made was to a farmer, and he the only collateral that he had was 4 goats, and actually Janie took those 4 goats as collateral. And as like with any financial institution or bank, we normally have to go by and check on our collateral, make sure the collateral is still intact, is still there. A year later, she went by to check on the collateral. The family was having a big celebration. They were having a big party, and she was asking for the collateral. And actually, one of those collaterals that she had taken as one of those goats that she had taken as collateral was actually sitting on that dinner table. So that was an interesting piece of collateral that we took that no longer existed. But again, they were celebrating the fact that they had a successful year, and the loan was being paid as agreed. So when we take farm animals, we will make sure we check on those farm animals and make sure that they are going to be intact for the duration of the loan. So some things that some institutions will take, others will not. And believe me, we have taken some collateral that others would not have taken. Jewelry are some of the things that we take. Stocks and bonds, mutual funds. When we talk about retirement vehicles, IRAs, things of that nature, 401ks, normally banks cannot accept those things as collateral. Neither can we. Those are retirement vehicles that are there for your retirement. So no one wants to be in a situation where they have to pool your retirement. So that's why a lot of banks shy away and stay away from any type of vehicle that's tied to someone's retirement. Now, in your business or in your company, if you work for a company, they may have a 401k plan that you could borrow against. A lot of times they allow employees to borrow against their 401k as long as it's paid back and there are payment provisions in place. So that's collateral. That's the collateral side. Again, this talks about 401ks, how a lot of times we tend to shy away from those or stay away from, again, retirement vehicles. The next C in the 5 C's of credit is capacity. Capacity to us is your ability to repay the loan. So when we look at your request for a loan, the first thing we're going to look at first is going to be your credit. To me, the second thing we're probably going to look at is your debt to income ratio. We want to know, do you have the ability to repay the amount of money that you're requesting? So capacity is your ability to repay the loan. What type of cash flow ability do you have? What's your existing cash flow ability with this loan? And do you have any outside income, any part-time job income? If you're a business and you're a startup, what other income do you have besides what you're probably going to make from your new startup? A lot of times with us, Lift Fund, we want to see individuals maintain their current employment. A lot of times individuals have employment and they're wanting to start a business on the side. We always advise, do not quit your day job. Please maintain that level of income that's coming in, because that income has basically allowed you to jump out there and start your own business. But at the same time, it has also allowed you to maintain and service any type of debt you may have, rent, mortgage, car notes, other bills that you may have. So that primary income is very, very important. And we tend to try and coach individuals to stay with that current job before moving on with their startup business. We like to see that startup business be successful, start bringing in revenue. Then it allows individuals the opportunity to walk away. The fourth C is going to be conditions. Current conditions of your current industry. We talk about that a lot. Are you in a type of business that's seasonal? Do you sell Halloween costumes? You probably have a very, very narrow, small window of opportunity to make money, and that's in the month of October, and probably toward the mid-October to the end of October. So, is your business seasonal? Do you sell Christmas ornaments? You know, how often are you able to sell Christmas ornaments? You may have a 2-month window when it comes to your Christmas decorations. Are you a landscaper where there's a certain window as well, where that time frame may be anywhere from 7 to 8 months of opportunity to garner and bring in revenue. So, what are the conditions of your industry? This second statement: if it is not the bank's policy to loan to particular industries, they will not, regardless of the C. So they're talking about different industries that we will not loan to. And some of those industries are adult entertainment type businesses. We do not loan to adult entertainment. We will not loan to a cannabis type business. Someone that has a dispensary, that owns a dispensary. That may be, that is an industry that right now we are not making loans to. So understand your industry, understand the importance of being seasonal, and whether or not your type of industry or your business will allow you the opportunity to obtain funding from a financial institution or an institution like Lift Fund. Character as the fifth C. Character that's basically what it says. It's dealing with that individual. What type of character does this individual have? Do they have a criminal record? And having a criminal record does not mean that you cannot get a loan. We have made, Lift Fund has made loans to several individuals that are ex-felons, that have paid their dues, done their time, and they want to start a business. And we've had a few individuals that have been successful in starting their business and maintaining the success of maintaining their obligations to Lift Fund. So even though you have a criminal record, it does not put you in a position where you cannot borrow. And it talks about individuals that are on parole, probations, or felony charges. We still work with those individuals. Credit is also, when we look at credit is also affiliated with your character. By that, we look at your credit history. We look at how you pay and have repaid your obligations. That's a part of your character. Are you the type of individual that pays late on a regular basis? Do you have a lot of 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? You've never had a charge off, but you have all these 30, 60, 90-day lates. So that's a part of your character. This is an individual who they will pay, but they just don't pay on time. That's a part of an individual's character. And the sixth C, which we normally don't talk about, but this is one that has been added. It's not a part of the 5 C's, but we have added the sixth C, and that's cash. It's what your equity injection is. What do you bring to the table? What type of skin in the game do you have? Normally, when we're making loans and when banks are making loans, they want to know, what are you going to contribute? We're not in the business of financing 100% of your business. If that was the case, everybody would go into business and no one would have any risk. Because the bank is taking all the risk. We're going to do 100% finance. That's not the case. We want to know what you bring to the table as well. Normally, that's anywhere from 15 to 30% of what you're asking for. If you're asking for $100,000, have about $30,000 saved, anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000 saved that you can put into the business. And sometimes it doesn't always have to be cash. Again, that second C was, I think it was collateral. Sometimes collateral can act as your equity injection, or some sweat equity that you put into the business. If you're going to do a storefront and you got to do a lot of finish out on that storefront, and you're a very good hands-on type person, great carpenter skills, you may go in there and do the finish out on your storefront. That could be extremely expensive, and sometimes you can spend anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 on the finish out. But if you did that work yourself, you would count that. You would count that as the equity that you put into the business. So cash injection is very important. Sweat equity is very important as well. Talking about credit reports, everyone knows about Credit Karma, TransUnion, Equifax, and one of the others I can't even think right now. But those are very important. You want to be able to look at your credit history or look at your credit report on an annual basis. Annually is free. So make sure you pull your credit report annually. You can go to annualcreditreport.com. There are other credit services that are out there that can help you pull all three. Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. Those guys are the three most important, or the three main credit reports that we look at and that banks look at. This fund only uses one report, and that is TransUnion. That's the only one. That's the only report that we pull. We don't pull Equifax. We don't pull Experian. We only use TransUnion. There are other banks out there that may pull all three. They may pull just two, or they may pull one. But just make sure that you're able to know what's on all three of your reports. We're going to talk about how this file is established. How is your credit report file established? It talks about lenders will look at personal credit report. You and your business are the same in the beginning. And I tell individuals all the time, I want to establish business credit. Well, you are the business. You are that business. So whatever you have as credit, that's what that business has as well. Now, as a startup business or a new business or even a business that's been around a couple of years, you can establish credit, business credit through other vendors. But your credit report, your personal credit, is going to be the most important piece to you obtaining any type of funding from a major bank, financial institution, or someone like a CDFI like Lift Fund. We're going to look at some of the scoring, and I know a lot of you guys are probably familiar with this. Excuse me, of how it works. The credit scores can be anywhere from 300 to all the way to 850. Those are your credit score ranges, 300 to 850. If you're anywhere, in most cases, if you're anywhere below 580, you probably won't get the type of funding that you need. And if you do obtain any type of funding, it's going to probably be at an extremely high interest rate, to the point that company or that lender is almost gouging the client. This is how the credit report is broken down. 35% of that your score is based on your payment history. It's how you pay your creditors. Do you pay on time? 35% of that particular piece of the credit report, that's what is that 35%. That's what is based off of payment history. 30% of your credit score is based on outstanding debt. How much outstanding debt do you have? Are you sitting at a very reasonable amount of debt that's manageable, or are you almost maxed out on everything? First of all, you have a house note, you have a car note, and then you have all these credit cards. and you're probably pretty much, and you're almost maxed out on all those cards. That's 30% of your score. They look at that very, very heavily, and so do we. Most financial institutions and banks look at that very heavily because it tells us a little bit about how you spend, what your spending habits are, or it also tells us what your debt to income ratio is, and do you have the capacity to repay new debt that you want to take on. And then 15% of your credit score is based on the length of time that you have had credit. Are you new to the credit game? Are you just now trying to establish your credit? This happens a lot with a lot of recent college graduates and things of that nature. They're just now getting into the credit, the credit game in regards to credit cards, trying to establish themselves. Or did you have to start over from a bankruptcy? And that happens a lot as well. You filed bankruptcy a few years ago. Now you're starting back over, and now you have a couple of pieces of credit. So 15% of that is how long have you had your credit? 10 years, 15 years, 20 years of having credit is very, very favorable. Then you got 10% of your credit score is based on new credit. How new is this credit? Like I just said, recent college graduates or someone that is just really has never had credit, has always paid cash for everything, but they realize in order for them to get funding from somewhere, they got to have credit, some type of credit history. So they go out and try to establish credit history. And then the other 10% is based on the type of credit that you have. What is your credit mix? Do you only have credit cards? That can pretty much bring your score down. Basically, is only having credit cards. Or do you have a couple of credit cards and a new car note? Again, this is someone that's new to the credit process. Or do you have a house, a car note, a line of credit, and a few credit cards? Now that credit mix is very diverse, and it really says a lot about that person. Again, the credit report can tell a lot about a person, can tell a lot about their character. So again, the credit type and the credit mix is very important. The next slide is, this is what this program is all about, is helping businesses determine a lot of things that they need in their business. So one of those is determining how much money you'll need to get your business started and up and running. So in the chat, I guess, tell me what's the average, the most popular amount that every business owner asks for? What is the average or the most popular amount that every business owner asks for? Do I have anybody in the chat? 5,000. Okay. One responded with 5,000. Okay. Being in the banking industry for all these years and being a lender for a CDFI, the average amount that every business owner comes to us for is usually about $50,000. Everybody wants $50,000. And my first question is, what are you going to do with $50,000? And that's going to be what every banker is going to ask you. What are you going to do with those funds? So if you want to go in and ask for $50,000, you better have all your ducks in a row as to where I'm not going to say every single penny, but just about every amount in that $50,000 needs to be accounted for. So some of the things that are very important in that is startup capital. If you come in and you want $50,000 and this is to help you get your business started, things that that you're going to probably need and that you're going to need to account for is going to be your furniture, in some cases machinery. Are you trying to get large machinery, equipment, opening inventory for some businesses? Are you a retail space where you need opening inventory? Signage. A lot of times individuals forget about the signage and the cost that entails. Pre-opening salaries. You may have to bring a lot more people on board for your opening than you would once you have your place open and established. And then the rental deposits. Do you have any deposits that you're going to have to put up for rent space? And the leasehold improvements. A lot like I discussed earlier, those leasehold improvements can get very, very expensive. And how much are those going to cost? So that $50,000 is going to have to encompass each and every one of these startup costs. Then you have your working capital cost. So after your startup costs, then you're going to have your payroll, your rent, your taxes on your business, your supplies, the inventory that you're gonna need, accounting and legal expenses that may come into play, the utilities that you may have for your business as well. So those are going to be some of the things that you're going to need for your working capital. Then we're then going to be the next thing is going to be the total amount needed to start your business. Just to understand and know that 100% of that startup cost of the funds that you're going to receive, 100% should be accounted for. Plus, you want to have, and we always tell individuals, in that $50,000, at least have 6 months worth of working capital if you're a startup to get your business up and running. So you have all these expenses and all these utilities for your business. Try to have at least 6 months worth of working capital saved, or have that be accounted for as well in your request. So we have no problem in lending funds to individuals who are borrowing for working capital. A lot of times you need that working capital. It's very evident, and it was very prominent, and we saw it firsthand over these past 18 months, where businesses really just, some didn't make it, and those that did, their main goal and focus was to try to keep the doors open, even though they didn't have the number of customers that were needed, but they needed that working capital. They needed to have funds to pay for the salaries of the individuals that were still on board. They still needed to pay rent. They still needed to pay their utilities. So that's all working capital. And banks and CDFIs, we lend working capital. In some cases, over the past 18 months, it's almost like we had to in order to keep these businesses afloat. So when we talk about your equity injection, and I talked about that earlier, the 15 to 30% that you need to come to the table with, this is your equity injection. Equity is the money a business owner invests in the business. So your equity is what you have put in the business. How much skin in the game that you put into this, into your business. A lender wants to make sure that a new business owner can provide at least 20% of the loan amount in equity. So if you're borrowing that $100,000, they want to see that you at least have $20,000 to inject into the business as well. And the one, my little favorite here is you must have skin in the game for a lending institution to be willing to put their money into your business. So think of ways. Think of it this way: why should we invest in your business if you're not willing to invest in it as well? So let's see. We're gonna talk about the sources of capital. Hold on one second. Okay, guys, can you hear me? I lost. Can you all still see my screen? Okay, I'm looking at one of the chat questions, and it talks. Someone is asking, what about the average freelance economy business? There's a lot. Almost every business that we do is someone that's doing something that's freelance, and we have no problem with that, as long as you have the ability to repay. As long as you have that capacity, that should be no problem.
I'm sorry, I meant the average startup cost. How much do people come and ask for when they want
The
to
average
do a
startup,
startup?
like I told you, like I said, my average request is about 50,000. Everyone comes in and asks for that amount for some reason. We're going to ask you what you're going to use those funds for, and we're going to have you explain why do you need 50. Is 50 too much, or is 50 not enough? So the average startup cost, and it just depends on the type of business that you're going into. I had someone call me the other day. They want to start a coffee shop, and they want to go to have a storefront, do all the bells and whistles. Their request was 250,000. Am I going to give someone 250,000 to start a coffee shop, and they haven't served one cup of coffee yet? And then, in order to pay that $250,000 back, how many cups of coffee do you think you need to sell every month just to make your payment? So those are the things a person needs to think about. And we all have come with grandiose ideas of my business. I want to start this fabulous, 5-star restaurant. I want to have this type of fixtures and this type of furniture, and that costs a lot of money. And banks are going to be very leery to give someone, $250,000 to $500,000 to start up a restaurant that hasn't proven itself. So it all depends on the type of business that you have, as to what your startup cost may be. I've had businesses that have started with $2,000, and they are successful. They have paid that $2,000 back, and they came back and, Todd, can I borrow $10,000 now? Absolutely, you can borrow $10,000 now. You've showed that you can pay as agreed on the $2,000, and now here's 10, because you want to buy another piece of equipment, or you want to expand a little bit. Then they come back and they need 25,000 because they're getting ready to open up a new location. So we have seen growth of business over time, and those who have started out with very small amounts to coming back to borrowing very large amounts. But we've watched that business grow and watched that business become successful. I hope that answers your question, or I can continue to elaborate. But the sources of capital, things that you like you said, you may come to us. You may want to borrow 50,000. We can't do it. You don't show the capacity for 50,000. But there are other sources that you may be able to go to. Your savings, for one. Friends and family could be another. Personal investors. I always ask individuals, do you have any personal investors? Individuals, especially when it's a very risky business, you may want to get some personal investors that that can help you start your business up. Bank loans, SBA loans, we do those. We are a certified SBA lender. We do SBA Micro, SBA 7A, and SBA 504. So we are a certified lender. Venture capital, that's another source of income. Angel investors is another source of income. Peer-to-peer lending and crowd lending. And we would discuss and talk a little bit about each of these. So personal funds, your savings account. If you're going to start your business, start planning to start that business now. If you don't have all the funds that's needed to start your business, start saving as much as you can in order so you can come to the table of a financial institution with equity in hand. So start saving. Look at your savings account, and sometimes individuals borrow against their home. Their home, they can do a home equity loan. You may have a lot of equity in your home, and you can borrow against that equity to start your business. So that may be an avenue, a resource that you may have, or a personal loan. You may have the ability to just go in and just get a personal loan to start your business. And as I said earlier, you can, through your employer, you can probably borrow against your 401k. But understand the pre-tax retirement implications and any penalties that you may have if it's not considered a loan or if it's not paid back. And I have the warning down here. If you're under the age of 59 and a half and you do it wrong, this can have a very big tax implication against you as well, or penalty that you may be assessed for early withdrawal on your 401k. So be very leery and very aware and cognizant of that. Next is family and friends. Sometimes, when you're starting a business, your family just loves your business and they want to be a part of it. Everybody loves. You may have the best barbecue in town. Everybody loves your barbecue. They keep telling you all the time, man, you need to start it. You need to start a business. You need to start a barbecue place. You need to open up a barbecue place because they love it and you enjoy doing it. Now, to go out and do that storefront is a different story because this is not just a weekend thing. It's an everyday thing. It's not just your little grill that you have at the house, but now you got to buy or build a smoker in this building. When you finish cooking, you can just dump your grease in a paper bag and put it out in the street to be picked up. But in a restaurant, you have to build a grease trap. And you have to have a truck come by maybe once a month or once every 2 months to clean and dispose of that grease that you have been dumping in your grease trap every single day. So going to family and friends and asking them for funding for your business is another source. You want to present the business to them. You basically also want to have a written agreement or some type of promissory note. What happens with that is you're going to have constant contact as well. So if I'm your brother or your sister or whoever, your cousin, and I help you get this business started, naturally I'm going to think I'm a part of it. And so you're going to have a lot of constant contact from me, and I'm to the point of almost being I'm pestering you. So just be aware of those things. Be aware of interest-free loans. Say, for instance, you go to your family member, your mother or father, and they say, "Oh, we'll help you start your loan. We're gonna give you $20,000. Just pay us back when you can, when you start making money. No interest. Just pay us back the 20 that we loaned to you." Be very aware of these types of loans because they can have tax implications against you as well if the federal government were to find out your business was started through a tax-free loan. And this right here is called imputed interest. That is something that the IRS has put into place. It's imputed interest that loan that you received and you did not have an interest rate, or you don't have to pay interest on that loan. So what happened is the IRS is going to calculate that as taxable income. So if you were to receive that $20,000, you may have to pay taxes on that $20,000, even though your parents just gave it to you to start your business. Is considered imputed interest. It can't be a tax-free loan. So be aware of those types of things as well. Key points to borrowing money. Okay, one is collateral. We're going to start with collateral. Some of the key points of borrowing money. Industry experience. This is what every bank is going to look at, and this is what we're going to look at as an institution as well. What type of industry experience do you have? You want to start this restaurant. Do you have any restaurant experience? You want to start this auto body shop. Do you have any auto body shop experience? Or you've been in the auto body shop for 20 years, and but like I said, but you are a great grill master. Everyone tells you that you're the best grill master they know. So you've been working on cars for 20, 25 years, but now you want to open up your barbecue restaurant. Do you have any industry experience in the barbecue restaurant business? So we're going to look at those things. Then we're going to look at the equity injection, what you're going to put into the business, repayment options. Does the terms fit your ability to repay successfully? So would a 5-year 12% interest note, would that be something that you can handle? Or is that something that is out of the rim of your repayment? Or do you need 7 or 8 years to repay the note? So understand those repayment options. And then whenever you're wanting to borrow funds, borrow money, know what your FICO scores are. Have a good idea of what those FICO scores are. Most financial institutions are going to want to have 640, 680 as a score that will give them the comfort of being able to lend money. We have programs where you're right there at the cusp of 580. You hit 580 and things that look good from the past 6 months. We will loan money to someone with a 580 credit score. Next is, what are the first steps in contacting a lender? Again, you want to call and establish a relationship with a commercial lending officer, or in most cases, your branch bank. You want to talk to the business loan officer of that branch bank or the branch manager. I have managed locations, Chase, Wells Fargo, BBVA. I have been the branch manager. I have been the individual that managed the whole entire operation. So I've had business bankers work for me and mortgage bankers work for me. And those are the guys you really want to come into the bank and see. The ones that are experts at those particular fields. So you want to ask if the lender is looking for loans. Sometimes you want to go in there, you want to do a restaurant loan. Someone like a Chase Bank may not be in the market, or they may not have an appetite for restaurants. We will look at restaurants. There are a lot of banks that don't have appetites for trucking business or deliveries, having a truck for delivery service. That's very risky. We will look at those types of loans. So ask the lender is looking what type of loans they're looking for, your size and type. Are you asking for too much for the type of loan that you're needing? Or are you putting yourself in a position where you're not asking for enough, and you may need to come back a second time? a lot faster than you normally would. Prepare all requested documents and include a business plan. So always have a business plan ready and prepare your documents. And most of the time, those documents are going to be your tax returns, your bank statements, your business structure papers. How was your business structured? Are you a sole proprietor? Are you an LLC? Are you incorporated? We need to have those documents. We need to know who the owners are, who's the owner on paper. How did you structure your business? So those are some very important documents as well. Then you want to make that appointment and rehearse your presentation. Again, over the past 18 months, I think most of my clients have all been virtual. Every single client I've had over the past, 18, 19 months now, have been virtual. So it's no longer shaking hands and getting an opportunity to meet a person and meet someone in person. So I said all that to say this: those things are no longer needed. You know, the documents are needed, but you no longer have to rehearse your presentation, make an appointment. Yeah, you want to make an appointment for us to get on the call and talk, but the old school way of banking is pretty much has taken a back seat to what we have done in the past. Then you have your bank, your bank lending. We talk about the industries that they like. Some banks do not like the trucking industry. We like the trucking industry. We do a lot of truck loans. We want to look at owner's equity. They want to know that you have at least 20% equity, or all 20% owners in this company have to be on the loan. So if you got business partners, anyone that has 20% or more has to be on the loan. Those who have less than 20%, normally we will not have to put them on the note. So all 20% owners personally guarantee their portion or a piece of this loan. And basically, when there are business partners and you do apply jointly, you're going to be 100% accountable for that loan. No matter if you're a 20% owner, 30% owner, you're going to be 100% accountable to that note because you are a business owner in that business. We would like to see strong collateral, including your personal collateral. We would like to see sufficient cash flow. So startups, we tend to look at outside income, as I discussed earlier. That outside income could be your current job that you have right now. Again, we always tell individuals, do not quit that day job if you're doing a startup. And then direct industry experience. What type of experience do you have in this business? Are you leaving a restaurant to start a restaurant? Then you have 20 to 25 years experience. Or are you leaving the auto industry to try and start a restaurant? Then we look at how well do you know this industry and who will be working with you to help you start this restaurant, even though you've never had that type of experience before. Okay. Hold on one second. Okay, SBA guarantee loans. Under the guarantee concept, commercial lenders make and administer the loans for the SBA. The business applies to the lender for their financing. So a lot of individuals think they go through the SBA to get a loan. The SBA does not make loans. The SBA gives authority to banks and CDFIs like Lift Fund to make SBA loans. They give us the guidelines that we need to follow in order to make those loans. Individuals always say, well, isn't the SBA a guaranteed loan? The SBA is a guarantee for the lender. If you were to default on an SBA loan, that is a government default. So they're gonna come after you for the rest of your life. For the rest of your life, if you default on an SBA guarantee, you will owe them. You will still have to pay that loan back. They're going to pay us. They're going to guarantee up to 70% of that loan to the financial institution, but you as an individual would still have to pay that loan back. I've known situations where individuals have had to pay from their Social Security, or they were not able to get Social Security because they owed an SBA loan. But again, there have been so many different types of SBA loans that have been given out here recently. Some that have been considered grants or partial grants. The PPP loan was a kind of like a partial grant. If you use the PPP loan the way it was supposed to be used, then you would only be responsible for 25% of what you borrowed. So those are some great situations that they had given to business owners. But again, we saw a lot of SBA money go to places that they probably should not have went to. And I would give it about another year, and you'll start seeing a lot of handcuffs around town, because they will find those individuals who took advantage of these programs. What the banks will need, and I talked about this earlier, at least 3 years tax returns, or at least have them available. We're only going to ask for your most recent tax return. At least 3 years of personal tax return. Most banks are going to ask for that. We're going to ask for the most recent personal. Your personal financial statement shows collateral, owner's equity, and current debt. That's what your financial statements should show. And then a business plan, and then a summary of the funds. What are those funds going to be used for? A little small summary of where possibly each dollar is going. Okay. It's like the same slide. Okay, what's missing is grants. This circle with the dash, the cross through it, used to be very, very real and correct. There was no such thing as grants. Individuals would think all the time, would ask all the time, I want to see if I can receive a grant. The government and banks did not offer grants. You may have saw grants go to major corporations, someone like a Pfizer or a Moderna, who are developing some type of medicine, and they're developing medicine for COVID. They may have received a grant to get that development through, or back in the day, they may have put together given a grant to produce a flu vaccine or something of that nature. But so far as a small business receiving a grant, that was never in existence. Where that came from, we don't know. There may have been some private corporations or private community service groups who gave out grants to small businesses. The banks and the government had no grants at all. This was, in all of my years of being in banking, this was the first time I ever saw grants for businesses. Some municipalities came out with grants. We worked very closely with Bexar County up in San Antonio. They came out with over $25 million in grants for businesses located in Bexar County. They wanted us to act as the underwriter for those grants, and we were able to distribute those funds to a number of different businesses in the San Antonio area. And that money was actually what I call it, just free money, because you did not have to pay that money back. That was my first time in my career ever seeing grants. Those grants did not come from banks. They did not come from the federal government. They came from maybe a city government that put together funding, or it came from a private investor who says, okay, I want to put together a $25 million fund that offers grants to businesses and lift fund. You guys be the underwriter, and that's how most grants have started working within the past 18 to 19 months. Before that, there was no such thing as grants. And according to the SBA, and this is old. My presentation is probably a couple of years old. It's older than 2 years. But anyways, according to the SBA, at this time, Congress has not set aside any monies for grants to start and or expand a small business. The U.S. government does not have grants that meet other purposes not related to business needs. The following website contains some of those resources. So this was absolutely true 2 years ago. But since that time, we all know that the government has set aside monies for grants for small businesses. So, and what was so unfortunate was that even some of these larger businesses were able to receive some of this funding as well. So just understand that right now there may be some grant opportunities out there, but I can almost guarantee you that those grant opportunities are going to dry up very, very soon. Free money. Be aware of these types of websites that ask you to apply for grants or give you an opportunity to apply for a grant application. Again, 2 years ago, these were just, I'm not going to say they were scams, but they were websites that charged you a fee. They charged you a fee to apply for these grants, and they would talk about how they're going to help you obtain some type of grant. It talked about small business grants. They have $155 billion of small business grants, housing grants, student grants. Some of these are true, student grants or housing grants, things of that nature. Research grants were very true. Community development type grants were true, but lending grants to small businesses was not true. Okay, other opportunities or other features that are out there for businesses to have access to in obtaining some type of capital is through a venture capitalist. Venture capital or VCs is financial capital provided by to early stage, high potential, high risk startup type companies. These venture capital funds make money by owning equity in the companies that they invest in, which usually have it's usually a novel technology type company or some type of biochemistry, IT, or software type company. So what a venture capitalist would do, they have the funding to invest in private businesses, but they want to have a large piece of that pie. They want to have a large piece of ownership. And in most cases, they want to be paid back fairly quickly at a very high interest rate as well. When we look at venture capitalists, we look at some of the facts and figures here. Every year, there are nearly 2 million businesses created in the United States, and 600 to 800 get venture capital funding. So 4 and 100 are 1% out of all the businesses that are started each year. Small businesses and just businesses in general. Only 1% will obtain some type of venture capital type funding. Again, venture capitalists are typically very selective in deciding what to invest in. As a rule of thumb, a fund may invest in one of 400 opportunities, one in 400 opportunities presented to them, looking for extremely rare yet sought after qualities such as innovative technology, something that has rapid growth, or something that's or a well-developed business model, and an impressive management team. When they look at these things, they look at, okay, we got some new technology that's coming out. These individuals that are on this management team, they all came from Microsoft, or they all worked with TI, and they're getting ready to branch out and do their own thing. So that management team is very impressive, and it gives them the comfort level that they need to invest in that type of business. Venture capital, they look for a high growth potential, expensive capital source. It's usually an expensive capital source. Exchange for equity. They want equity in the company. They want a successful exit event. They want to reach the IPO stage, and this is how most venture capital and other investors usually look at how quickly can we reach the IPO stage, and that time frame usually is typically within 3 to 7 years. That's their exit plan. They will help invest millions into your business, but they want to be out of that business within 3 to 7 years through an IPO. Target minimum return is in excess of 40% per year. So a venture capitalist, they look for very, very high returns. They look for a solid business plan, a good management team, investment and passion from the founders, good potential to exit the investment, and returns of up to 40%, and fast-growing technology, life sciences or biochemistry, biotechnology type fields. And some of these investors you can find at a gobignetwork.com. They will give you a list of individuals that invest in businesses. What are angel investors? That's our next topic of how you can obtain funding outside of your traditional funding. Angels typically invest their own funds, unlike venture capitalists, who manage a pooled money of others in a professionally managed fund. So although typically reflecting the investment judgment of an individual, the actual entity that provides the funding may be a trust business, a limited liability company, or an investment fund. Those are your angel investors. Most of the time, angel investors help you bridge the gap between family and friends. Amounts less than what venture capitalists would normally do. And with a VC, they normally are not able to invest anything under $1 to $2 million. So they always want to invest large amounts because they know those returns are going to be large as well. And they know that the types of businesses that they're investing in are going to be very high growth and high potential. The average angel investor, their investments are usually in the $450,000 range. Angel investors, they usually invest in extremely high risk type companies, subject to dilution from future investment rounds. They have a very high return on investment, ROI. They have a large percentages are lost completely. So angel investors lose a lot of funding as well. These are very wealthy individuals. Losing $450,000 is just, they just is chalk it up to the game. It's something that they thought would take off. It didn't, so they lost their investment. But again, they are not investing in just anything. They have done some extensive research on those who they're going to invest in. They seek returns of 10 or more times the initial investment in 5 years. Define exit strategies such as an IPO. That's going to be one of their exit strategies, or an acquisition. Trend is to look for returns 20 times to 30 times the amount of their investment, and then IRR typically as low as 20 to 30% due to failures. Okay, by industry segment, this is what a lot of the angel investors invest in and the VCs invest in. They're very big on healthcare and medical type companies. That's 30%. Software is 16%, biotech 15%, industrial energy is 8%, retail is 5%, and IT services is 5%. So they want to invest in things that they know is going to have very, very high returns and be extremely successful. Again, the most evident thing that we can think of is the vaccines that have been produced here by the 3 different companies. They have made millions and millions and millions of dollars on these vaccines, and they spent all the time and energy and research to produce those vaccines. And now that we're trying to rid ourselves of a pandemic, they're getting high returns on that. So that's the industry segment that has broken down on obtaining funding. Crowdfunding, peer-to-peer lending, crowdfunding, crowd lending, crowd financing, and hyperfunding. These are some things that some individuals look at when they're trying to obtain other funding that they cannot get through the traditional resources. Types of crowdfunding. You have your donation crowdfunding. People donate money, often in small increments, towards a project, cause, or a company. Reward crowdfunding. People receive a reward in return for their contribution. Rewards are non-monetary, such as a thank you, a T-shirt, or a discount, or an opportunity to pre-order the product that is being funded. Then you have your debt crowdfunding. Individuals or businesses can use debt crowdfunding to borrow money from people instead of lending institutions like banks. And then there's the equity crowdfunding. Businesses can connect with investors who will receive equity or company ownership in return for their contributions. Investors will receive a dividend or appreciation on their investment. Okay, Google, how to do crowdfunding. These are some things, or some sites that individuals can go to that talks about crowdfunding, ways an individual can obtain funding through these different types of campaigns. A big one that's really, really popular, and you all have probably heard, is Kickstart. Kickstart is a very popular crowdfunding that has taken place, that's been very, very successful for some businesses. Let's see. And here's a Kickstarter where this project here is a pool, a floating pool in the river for everyone. Their particular goal was to obtain, I think, 25,000. They raised 102% in 23 days. So in 23 days, they raised enough to do what they wanted to do for this particular project. For that particular project. Then you have some other crowdfunding programs. This ISS notify. This was a satellite that was launched, and if you invested in this, you would receive a sticker. Sometimes they would give you a NASA T-shirt, or this little thing that you can put on your desk, and depending on the amount that you gave, every time that satellite came above your area, that would light up. So whenever that satellite was orbiting the Earth, so to speak, and it came by your office or desk or your home, this particular gift that they gave you would light up. So you gave different increments in order to get different things from this particular program. Let's see. What else we have? Again, this is what happened. They had 115 backers. The goal was 6,000. They raised the funds in 28 days. And it was what we call a space station light. Good deal. Here's another little apparatus that took off through crowdfunding. Pretty much snapped together a desktop apparatus that their goal was to raise $40,000. They raised $96,000 in seconds. It didn't even take a day to raise $96,000. Another apparatus that will hold your what they call a pad pivot. It holds your iPad and it lets it pivot, turn, and you may have seen some of these in retail stores where they can the retailer can look at it from their side and pivot and turn it around to you, or you can sign it. Their goal was to raise $10,000, and they had 4,800 backers. They raised $190,000 in one day, or within seconds. This little project here, right out of Plano, Texas, a little young kid put together this little apparatus that blows up several balloons at one time. I think it can blow up to 100 balloons at one time. Fill those balloons, with water. So I guess he was very much into balloon water fights. But anyway, their goal, they had a small goal. I don't see it right, but they had a small goal of raising, I think, $10,000 to $20,000. They wound up raising $929,000 within a minute. Within 1 minute, 2,100 backers, right here in Plano, Texas. So some of these programs can be extremely successful, and it will help you get your business, launch your business. This is one. This is another one that took off. Their goal was to raise, I think, $50,000. They raised $335,000. Here's another. This one here is probably the most popular crowdfunding program that took off. This was the coolest cooler. It had everything. It had a blender. It had a CD player. It had a hot and cold section for this particular apparatus cooler. It had I guess a plug-in for your phone, your charger. They had 43,000 backers for this. Their goal was to raise $50,000. They raised $8 million in 16 days. This was probably the most successful Kickstarter campaign of all time. But understand this. This company is now being sued because it was so successful, they couldn't produce the number of coolest coolers that they needed, that the investors invested in. So you would invest, or you would crowdfund, and this is what they would give you. You invest a certain amount, we're going to give you a T-shirt. You invest another amount, we'll give you a cooler that probably doesn't do everything. If you invest this other higher amount, then we're going to give you the premium cooler that does everything. So they really could not invest, or they could not produce what was needed to make shipment. One of the issues that they ran across was the chip, the computer chip that was needed for this coolest cooler could not be produced fast enough either. So that was a very successful, but yet unsuccessful campaign. And again, here are some of the investments that you could have made. You invest a certain amount, you invest $225, you get these things. You invest $285, you get this. They came in different colors, but again, Kickstarter is a very, very popular way of obtaining funding. Here is a partial list of other crowdfunding programs that are out there. Rocket Hub, Co-Founder. So these are some things that you can look at as well if you're in the type of business where you need to obtain funding, but you can't obtain that funding from your financial institution or someone like a lift fund. And because of the Kickstarter, because of this law was put into place. This law was put into place back in April 5th of 2012 under the Obama administration. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is going to have approximately 270 days from the enactment date. Excuse me. To set up specific rules and methods to ensure that funding will actually take place. So, what time is it? Wow, I kind of ran through some of these things, but in summary, we talked about are you bankable, how to become bankable. We talked about the C's of credit. Talked about startup costs. We talked about sources of capital. How can you obtain capital? Where are some of those sources? And that's personal savings, family and friends, personal investors, bank loans, venture capitalists, angel investors, peer-to-peer, and crowdfunding. So we finished this in record time, guys. Actually, we finished it in record time. Let me go back up to the chat and see what was in the chat. Okay, I can have that. Okay, on one of these questions that talked about the okay. It talks about an individual not being able to provide tax returns. We will, a bank may not be able to work with you if that can't be provided, but we as a CDFI would work with you if we knew the reason why. If you say that you have not been able to produce tax returns because of you've been disabled, and I'm not sure how your disability payments are, if they're taxable, if you even have to file a tax return. But if you show income and that income can be proven, then that's really the only thing that we will need if you do not have to file tax returns. Someone also said be careful of loan contracts with a confession of judgment clause. And really, on any loan contract, you really want to read exactly what you're getting into. With banks and institutions like Lift Fund, CDFIs, every one of these in the institutions are very reputable organizations. So they're not going to put anything in a contract or in a loan agreement that's not reputable. When you start dealing with these smaller smaller type, I always call them predatory lenders, you may have to read every single line because there are things in there that they can come after your firstborn if you don't pay them back. So you really, really want to be careful and really read every contract you sign. That would be my best advice to anyone from that standpoint. Let's see if we have any other questions. And if you want, you can take yourselves off mute. And this is the time where I like to kind of get to know who was on the call, kind of get to know what type of business you have or what type of business you're trying to produce. And if there's an opportunity for us to try to help you get that business started. So anybody wants to go first and introduce themselves and tell a little bit about their business? This is also free advertising. Or can you take yourselves off mute?
Hi, Mr. Adams.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, how you doing? My name is Fletcher. I'm actually calling from Massachusetts. I operate in Massachusetts. My business is
And that's
registered in Massachusetts. Yeah. I am a drone operator. I'm sorry. I do 3D mapping, 3D modeling, and
okay.
really what I'm interested in is the PTAC. Does the SBDC have involvement with the PTAC in New Jersey?
Okay,
If
I'm unfamiliar with what they're doing in New Jersey, but I do know that we do we have an SBDC here, and each of them are. I'm not going to say they all are different, but some have just programs that are kind of privy to that area
okay.
or conducive to that area. So I'm not sure what's
Oh,
going on there, but
okay.
funding wise for your business, SBA lending from our standpoint is something that we would be able to do. We could definitely do. Okay, and anybody else can they come off mute, or who said they had been made the host? Make host. No, let me see. Is anyone else able to talk or to take themselves off of mute? Melissa, don't be shy.
Gonna put me on the spot.
I did. I'm not gonna let you get on this call and not say anything.
Gosh. I am I'm a nurse by trade. I want to get out of healthcare. So I'm looking at opening a coffee shop, probably just a mobile coffee shop to start. I'd still work as a nurse, and this would just be a weekend side job. I also work as a coffee shop too. So I have lots of
Okay.
jobs. So
are you in the Metroplex? Are you local?
I in the northern in Melissa.
Okay. Yeah.
So we just have one coffee shop that just opened up, but other than that, there's no other coffee shops over here. Then there's one in Anna that's a Starbucks, and then a nonprofit in Anna, and then there's not really much else around here.
Okay.
So
And I'm very familiar with the growth of Anna, Melissa, Anniston.
okay,
It's just so much growth up that way. Princeton,
yeah,
everybody's growing. So that opportunity would probably be something that you really want to look into even deeper, because it is something that could be done. That would probably be successful, especially if you're going to be mobile.
yeah,
You can go anywhere. I mean,
yeah.
I'm very familiar Melissa, and the sports. These kids play sports all over the place, and
Yeah, and
they
that complex
travel.
is right around the corner from me.
Exactly. So I'm very familiar with Melissa and its sports programs. But at the same time, those you can, if you're going to be mobile, you can almost go anywhere and set up,
Yeah,
especially
I'm
for your
hoping it will give me the freedom to stay home more with my kids during, I have two toddlers, to stay home during the week versus opening a brick and mortar in which I'd be committed 24/7.
Right,
So
right, exactly. And
start
again,
mobile and then build from there.
yeah, that sounds great. That sounds good. Again, I've watched individuals uh, do exactly what you're talking about doing. Start their business, do it part time. It eventually is making just as much as your salary that you have now. So if they can replace their salary and be have flexibility and freedom, that's what they do. And this is something that sounds like it's something that can definitely be done. So
Awesome.
keep
That's
stay
encouraging.
with it. Yes, stay with it because it's that is enough. That again, coffee shops uh, are starting to become very popular request. Like I said, I had another client come to me. They wanted to do a brick and mortar coffee shop, and he was telling me he needed 250,000. And I just at the time I said,
Yeah.
you really need to get you um, a mentor, someone that can coach you. Go to the SBDC, go to the SBA, go to SCORE. We even have a program called WBC, which is the Women's Business Center at Lift Fund. It's funded by the SBA, but our Women's Business Center has counselors that help consult with small business owners on different aspects of their business. So if anybody is trying to start a business, I always tell them take advantage of these services through these organizations because they're free.
Awesome.
I used to run my own business. I was a consultant, been in banking for over 30 years. Uh, got out, started my consulting business, and the things that SCORE and SBDC can offer, I charged for, and I charged quite a bit, and it was very successful. But again, it was hard to charge someone when I really found out that these services are free uh, with SBDC. They're free with the SBA, or they're free with SCORE. These types of organizations. So take advantage of those services that are free.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys for being on. And again, this is the first one I've done in, gosh, quite some time. It's been a while. My partner from Wells Fargo, he normally does these, and we've had to pretty much uh, go back and forth with one another, and who's going to do this month, or who's going to do the next month. And I have just come back from probably what's this? This is we're in our 10th month. Oof, I probably have done one this year. That may have been back in January. So glad to be back. Glad you guys were on the call. And if there's anything, I don't know if I put my information on here, but again, for you, Melissa, I am local. That is my email address. You guys can see that. tradams@liftfund.com. And my phone number where I can be reached with my, and it's usually my business cell, and I have it with me at all times. It's 214-502-4202. And again, I thank you guys for
Can
being.
you put that in the chat for us?
You know what? I certainly can. Hold on a second.
Hey, Mr. Adams.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify my question earlier when we were
Okay.
talking about the average person comes in and asked for 50K.
Uh-huh.
And what I was asking, what I put 5K when you asked us to guess is
I
because
saw that. Yeah.
I'm doing a freelance business, like a gig startup, and I'm just like I think it's Melissa. I'm mobile also, so that's why I was questioning if the average freelance or gig business that does not need a brick and mortar or much marketing, would 5,000 be a good roundabout for
Yeah.
startup
Yeah.
cost and working capital?
Yeah. Absolutely. Because freelance, probably basically using your own personal vehicle. You
Right.
are you don't have any overhead. There's no brick and mortar. You're working from home, and I really truly like working with home-based businesses. They're easier to work with, and I know that if they needed to cut some costs somewhere, they could. When you're in a brick and mortar, it's hard to cut costs. You're going to have rent, you're going to have utility expenses, and you're going to have if you need to bring somebody on board, you got to pay them. So brick and mortars, when I see a person go into a brick and mortar, it's scary because I know that even though they've been successful doing things from home, now you have really added some additional costs. If your
Yes.
business is extremely successful, then yeah, sure, go and open up a brick and mortar and pull it out of your house and and start that cupcake business uh, on the most busiest thoroughfare out
Right.
there, and I can guarantee you'll be successful. But if it's something that the amount that you're making now, do you think that would transcend to being able to service your debt if you were to borrow more money to start a brick and mortar? So home-based businesses are very favorable, very successful. I like working with home-based businesses. Uh, that 5,000 is a really good sweet spot for Lift Fund.
Yeah.
Um, that we would love to make those types of loans all day.
And you'll
We, we,
work with
we,
people out of state? Like I said, I'm in
we're
Mass.
we're we're located in 14 states,
Okay,
um, and I forgot where you told me you were. You said Massachusetts.
that's correct.
Okay. Now, I don't think we can do anything there. That's the only problem. That's the only issue. We don't have a presence there. Um, we well, I take that back. We have a presence in New York,
New York. Okay.
any bordering state,
Okay.
any bordering state we can probably work with.
Okay. So even if I wanted to do business within Massachusetts or within the state where the list fund, would they support me coming from another state if I wanted to work in New York or New Jersey?
Yeah, sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
We have a lot of clients that are out of state.
Yeah.
So, like I'm over Oklahoma. We have absolutely no person in Oklahoma. I'm it,
Uh,
and I'm right here in Dallas.
okay.
So so we can certainly
Uh,
work with people out of state.
two more questions. When when you're doing loans and when you're reviewing the client who's looking for resources, would it be a good idea? Because you said that you like working with home business because they're nimble, they're able to provide more flexibility. Would it be a
Hmm.
good idea for myself to procure a business address, like a PO box or some type of UPS
Well,
address that
this
they look for? You know?
this is the situation. A business address is great, but we would not recognize a post office box address.
What
We have to have a
what
physical
right.
location.
What I meant was as my home address, would that be looked at as favorable or
Yes.
with some scrutiny?
No, that would be looked at as more favorable than having a a mail drop. or
Okay.
we want a physical address, and
Right.
your home address is normally if you're a home-based business, that would be your physical address. Now you can have a business address as a Dropbox somewhere
Right.
or in a,
Right.
but the physical address of the business should be your home,
Okay.
and that's looked at more favorable.
Okay. And also when I'm presenting like budgets and projections,
Hmm.
uh, I myself see a I don't know if you're aware of like a rolling budget where it never ends. It's just add tacked on from the last budget. And you keep track because my expenses vary. Besides the fixed costs, the other costs sometimes can vary. So I found a rolling budget would be the best accounting practice I can have a steady budget also alongside it to show like an annual expenses and revenue, but a
Right.
rolling budget on a month to month or even a quarterly best basis would work best for me. Now, would a bank
And that,
uh, want to see that, or would they want to see a more stable budget or forecast?
uh, a rolling budget is fine because
Yeah,
things are going to be things are kind of fluid when it comes to businesses in regards
yeah,
to movement. It moves. The projections can change at any given
right,
time.
right,
Uh, you can find a depending on what type of business you're in, you can find a program like right now the State Fair of Texas is going on. So we have a lot of clients that are in the restaurant business. Well, the State Fair of Texas, when they are set up, they have to
mhm,
have their expenses skyrocket, but so does their revenue. So for 28 days or 21 days, they're gonna have these high expenses, but right along with that, they're gonna have very high revenue, and
right,
that's a 1 month situation. So that budget tends to look different than your regular monthly budget. So yeah, budgets can fluctuate and move, have all types of movement. Uh, Sometimes we want to see an annual budget just to look and see what you have projected, or we want to see a budget that has your projections on there, just to see if they're falling in somewhere in line with what you say that might take place.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All righty. Any more questions? Any more concerns? Well, thank you, sir, for being on the call. And again, if you have any questions, you got my information, and please feel free to give me a call.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Adams. You have a great
All
day.
right, thank you, and have a great day. Bye bye.